Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by Lines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. And we've got player props here for our one game on Wednesday as we welcome ourselves back to the NBA from the All-Star break. We've got the Lakers and the Hornets. So we're going to be talking about player props in this episode. Also have best bets up with some sides and totals looks for the game in our other episode. And we've also got some futures bets as well in a third episode. So definitely make sure to subscribe to that page and don't miss any of the NBA action that we have now and moving forward with you guys. Nate, let's go ahead and get into your first player prop here for this one.
Got to take the California kid, LaMelo Ball, assuming he actually plays. You said probable was actually the designation thrown out there. So that's very encouraging, considering he came back and just only played 10 minutes against the Nets right before the break and was just like, you know what, this game ain't it. But, I mean, he's from the area, so now he goes up against the Lakers. A variety of props are an option here. I've got the best value on FanDuel. 6.5 assists is slightly plus money. That's good value. On DraftKings, you can get a full point and assist down to 29.5 at a good price as well. You want to take the whole PRA bundle. I think that makes sense. As far as RA, he's over in 5 of 6 against the Lakers in his career. Running it back after injuring his ankle again in that one. He's over in 7 of his last 8 without injury. In fact, he's over the PRA in 26 of 28 when he's had 30 minutes this year. And in all 4 career against Luka has put up the RA, including a 30-point triple-double last meeting. And that's kind of key here because, we're talking about like a potentially Luka, Austin Reeves, and LeBron kind of trio that's just not going to be able to do much defending on the perimeter. And then a Lakers defense that's not going to be able to protect the rim if they don't have Jackson Hayes. Either way, without AD, they are allowing 30 assists per game, the second most 3-point attempts being forced to pack it in, right? And LaMelo is more than happy to jack those shots up. I would also look at him distributing to Nick Smith as those two guys kind of work together a little bit more. And Nick Smith is plus money to hit 3 threes. He was shooting 46% from 3 his last 5 before getting ejected right before the break. But we like the Hornets offense enough here. Certainly the assists could go up if Mark Williams plays, which you said it's looking like he will. So I just like the motivation spot here for LaMelo on the 11 days of rest since he last played a full game.
Yeah. Totally, no issues with that for LaMelo. This is still a little bit low. I think it's probably going to go up a bit. It was like 22.5 even because in terms of just the points for him and the assists, the plus money just kind of started bumping up a little bit because of the more probable tag for him now, which they always wait to do. Whatever, I'm sure limits were pretty low anyway before they announced that for stuff for LaMelo. So I think this is still a good number. I think you probably get this up 30.5 for the points and assists. I think is still a good look for him against a very weak up top defense for the Lake Show, which will continue to be weak moving forward. Let me take a Laker here named Rui. I'm going to go with Rui Hachimura. Over 19.5 points and rebounds is still there. Minus 128 on FanDuel for that for Rui. He's still rocking 30 plus minutes. I've been eyeing him and bet him a few times since Luka got there, especially in that game 3 games ago when Luka and LeBron were missing, and he had a really nice 33 PR in that game right there. Then in the last 2 games with Luka around, he still played average 29.5 minutes, 2 blowouts really as well. They won by 19 against Utah, then they lost by 12 and were down by 20 in the third quarter in that one. So not even a close game there. 12 seems closer than it was, to be honest. In both these last 2 games, he's had 14 and 15 shot attempts. He's had 10 and 9 rebound chances. Not a great rebounder, but not very many good rebounders on this team now outside of like Luka and LeBron, and Jackson Hayes can still do his things with the minutes that he's getting. He's got some pretty low props. I think you'll talk about that as well. But as far as Rui goes, like adding the rebounds at 4.5 for me is totally fine. We've seen when he's played without AD this season, he's done really well. At the beginning of the season when they were playing missing guys and he was getting the 32 minutes like he is now again, he was at about 5.5 rebounds per game. So I like that the 4.5 is still available. I think that's going to start to go up as they'll rely on him a ton more for things like rebounds, as they're going to want him to pick up some of that stuff that LeBron needs to do on both offense and defense if they're serious about making a run here in the playoffs, which acquiring Luka would indicate they are. As long as the volume is there for him, then I'm good with that, right? Like I said, he's averaging about 14 shot attempts, and when he takes 14 shot attempts this season, he's going over the points prop by itself at 15.5. When he takes 14 shot attempts, he's over that with a 72% hit rate this season in those games. And now I think that's somewhere around the average that we should expect from him with his level of importance in this team as a guy like AD leaves and where he's playing on the position becomes on the floor becomes even more important.
Yeah, position on the floor. He's got to guard Miles Bridges all game, right? Who at first glance, I'm like 23.5 points or 4 more assists for Bridges. Like, that seems high. I know he had been putting up numbers before the break and put up a big line against the Lakers when LaMelo got injured, but he's not supposed to be this involved offensively. And Rui, pretty solid defender who is going to be probably on him most of the game, right? I think maybe he can hold Bridges down under the PRA there.
Yeah.
Certainly he slots more into his natural position. If my guy here, Jackson Hayes, is able to play, which we don't know at all right now. I couldn't find any news in terms of like, is he going to put the mask on and go here right out of the break because he suffered a facial contusion right before the break. But if not, it's void. But I think a lot of people are hitting this number anyway, 5.5 rebounds, because it went from minus 105 to minus 140 at DraftKings. As people are like, well, if it's void, it's void. But if he goes like 6 rebounds, is not much for a 7-footer who's just way, way, way better than his backup, Alex Len, on defense. Alex Len is just a horrendous defender. I don't know how he's still in the league. He allowed 70% on his individual defensive field goal shots in the last one when Hayes went out. Hayes was holding opponents to 40% in his last 9. He had a block shot in all 9 games, right? It's like a really nice stretch here. Len only grabs 7 of his 15 rebound chances as well. So not really helping out there. Like, it's going to be an easy decision for JJ Redick is what I'm saying. If he has both these guys at his disposal, especially with Mark Williams looking like he's going to play, like, you're going to need a good defensive center for sure. I mean, either way, the Hornets are going to be able to get some stuff going here on offense with the Lakers' poor perimeter defense. That Jackson Hayes is vital for their roster right now. Yeah. So if he's a go, I think he gets the minutes to get these boards, and it's just a really exploitable number. I think you play it up to the 6.5 if that's what you got to do to get a good line.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with it. I mean, the 5.5 is still just such a great playable number for Jackson Hayes. I thought it would probably get up to 6.5, 7.5 around that number, but he's still, not 100% to play either, like what we were saying. So like we just have to see what's going to happen there, and the lines will probably go up as we get more definitive rulings for these guys on their injuries, and we'll see what that does for stuff. But up till now, this is still a great look at 5.5 rebounds, minus 105 there. I imagine that's going to get moved and hasn't really been touched yet. Yeah, I honestly was surprised to see as many props as I saw available, even for tomorrow or Thursday's games, I should say. So they're getting some lines out there, which is interesting, but they're keeping the limits low. So don't ping yourself too much by betting too much too early. But Mark Williams, I'll close with this without a line available for him because I can look at some of the past lines and know what I think this is going to come out at. So it's been around 17 or 16.5 points, around 10, anywhere from 10.5 to 12.5 rebounds. And I'm saying if we can get 15.5 points at an open because he's missed a bunch of games with a lot of time off, we can see probably a little bit of a dip in some of the prop lines that will be available. If we get that 15.5 on the points, I love that. I would play this up to like 17.5 for a decent odds, like minus 110, 115 is about where I'd limit the number there if I'm going to play over 17.5 points for Mark Will. And the board's right at 11.5. That's the sweet spot, and I'm not taking anything above that for him. But I still think if he's going to be available, and the only thing that's really limiting him or even had him on the injury report was quote unquote conditioning, which is like, all right, like I don't know exactly what's going on with him because that injury report obviously is pretty scary, that there was a lot more going on with him than just like sometimes a bad back that kept him from getting traded to the Lakers. So you always got to keep that in mind that he's going to be somewhat of a scary over in that sense. But I'm going to bank on the massive amount of rest here alongside the fact that the only thing listed for his injury is conditioning. And that's the only thing that they have worried for him. And I think can get into good enough shape to play in this game against the Lake Show here in this one. If you look at the way that he has been playing, and when he gets a legitimate amount of minutes, which I would say is 30 plus, in these games where he's played 30 plus. He had a really poor streak there right before he got traded to the Lakers, where he had like 8 rebounds against Memphis, Portland, and the Lake Show, and then came back and had some really nice games against the Wizards. Obviously, that'll always be a nice way to get your game back against the Wizards, and Denver, especially in the rebounding categories there, 14 and 15 against those squads. And Denver has been a team that's given up a ton of rebounds to centers. Obviously, Washington, since they were the Bullets, has been giving up rebounds to centers. And then the Lakers have been bad, giving up rebounds to centers. And that's continued, obviously, without Anthony Davis. And they've played some bad teams with some bad. I mean, Walker Kessler had his way to a degree. The points, not quite as much for him. But Mark Will would be doing a lot more of the shooting in this one when he's played with who are we talking about? Miles Bridges, LaMelo Ball. When he's played with those two guys and no Nick Richards or Grant Williams and all the guys that are not available for this team, either because they're traded or they're still hurt. When he's played with these guys on court, Mark Will is still at 19.5 points per 36 and 14.5 boards per 36 when he plays alongside these two guys that he's going to be with in this game as the focal point down low and the guy that's going to be running the pick and rolls with LaMelo. So I think his involvement will be high. If Alex Len gets out there, God bless, because like you said, he is not serviceable as a defender. He is serviceable on offense. Like he can run a pick and pop and be a stretch 5 to a degree. And he is 7-1 and just girthy, but not it on defense, to your point.
Yeah. So if Jackson Hayes is out, go ahead and fire this number. I don't really understand where Mark Williams' mindset is going to be at this point. Like, it's not like is he fired up to be like, this is what you missed out, Lakers? Like, is he mad at the team physician who like flubbed this in some ways? Is like, who does he want revenge on, and does he want to still play for Charlotte? Like, is just like an awkward. I do think he will. Like, I think as long as LaMelo's out there and Charlotte's like going out there to win this game, they're not going to go out to win that many more the rest of the way, but I think they will for this one because again, like homecoming vibes and just coming out of the break and looking to spoil the Lakers, who people are now looking at as big shakes. And I guess Mark will, he probably will want to be like, yeah, you could have been a title contender with me. Look at me drop 20 and 10 on you. And maybe come get me in the off season, because that would be great for me.
Yeah, it would. And I could see it both ways too. I don't have a grip. I would say I'm 70% in on him being a beast about it. And I'm 30% on him being somewhat actually ashamed that it was his fault that his health wasn't there. I don't know whose fault it was, or the doctor, whomever, but I could see it going both ways. I think at the end of the day, the talent that he's going to be going up against is so sparse that he'll be able to do his thing. So that's all the time we have for you, though, in the player props episode. Keep an eye on those Mark Will props as they start coming out here as this episode comes out for you guys as well. Definitely want to make sure to subscribe to the page. Check out the best bets with some looks at sides and totals in this one for you guys. We'll have those for you moving forward throughout the weekdays. And until we see you next, happy betting.